buffering. Hey, this is Coach
Hey,
Kinsey Shae, and I'm here with Bobby Merwin. Happy to be
hello.
here live with you all this evening. Welcome to,
Live. This is
yeah,
fun.
I know. Welcome to Gen-X-ploration. And today we're going to talk about really what determines our outcomes in our life. Quite often we think that if we're comfortable, that we're doing life right. And stick with us
Yep.
to the end, because there's going to be, this is just us putting a little perspective on you, and we want to hear your perspective. We're not saying all of we're speaking through our lens of through our education, what we've seen with
Mm-hmm.
our clients,
Yep.
and not everybody's the same. So I love perspective. That's how I grow.
Mm-hmm.
um and the biggest thing is I realized, I lived in a space where I felt like life just happens to me. And whatever happens, that's the outcome. That's my
Mm-hmm.
reality. I grew up in the Midwest, and I'm just like, this is the way it is. Right? You grow up,
I'm
you
not.
go
I'm
to
not sure what the
college.
Midwest has to do with that, but okay. Yes, I get what you're
No, you
saying.
live in that belief system that this
Uh
is
huh.
what is your outcome of life going to be. You're going to, go to college, you'll get married, have the 2.2 kids, and you'll live
Mm-hmm.
happily ever after. That did not happen to me, and that does not happen to a lot of people.
Didn't happen to me. Didn't happen to me.
So if that's not you, it's okay. Your experience is an invitation to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So I like
Perfect.
to think, yeah, I like to think of like circumstances, events. Just like we could rattle a ton. Like 2020
Mm-hmm.
happened. You get a divorce. You decide to switch your life around, to go to
Mm-hmm.
school or whatever. And then you're like, it's supposed to be all peachy keen. But that
Mm-hmm.
you have to allow yourself to get uncomfortable and accept a new reality. How do you do that? Your response. If you're negative Nancy, sorry if there's any Nancys out there. I'm not calling you out, just a
We
statement.
apologize sincerely,
Yeah.
Nancy. Yeah. It's like getting called Karen today. If you have the name Karen, it's like, oh, that's gonna
Oh,
just
I
suck
know.
today.
I know.
Oh.
So, but first, before we really dive into this, like, subscribe, do all that fun jazz, because we just want to create value. If you find
Mm-hmm.
value, please support. And
Mm-hmm.
because we're doing this from our hearts to
Mm-hmm.
your hearts. So,
Yep.
Bobby, weigh in. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
You have, my God, and it's late for you. It's like 8 p.m. So you're like
Right.
you're really on it. You must have had a cup of coffee or something.
I took a nap.
You did okay, good. Good for you.
I
Self-care.
know.
You said something about you just feel like life happens to you and that's what you
Hmm.
get. And then you said something about COVID.
Right.
Well, I had COVID in 2020.
Hmm.
Or we dealt with. I didn't get it, but I dealt with COVID in 2020. Went through a divorce in 2021.
Right.
So I had this long stretch of suck. So therefore, I just thought whatever happened to me after that was fine.
Right.
And it was such a thinking error and a problem for me.
Right.
And, thank God I took the time to go to counseling and do some things that I needed to do.
Right.
And that has now changed. And since then I have gotten a better job, wrote a book, creating a class, doing things that I would not have done a year ago even.
Right.
So yeah, you have to participate. That's another one of the words that you used. You have to participate in your life.
Exactly.
So
I honestly, with a lot of my clients, I'm like, they tell me what they can't do. And that is very much disempowering language. What
mhm.
Decide what you won't do. And that's a decision. you know, can't is being, I can't do this because I can't. And it's usually because of other people's
Right?
systems. It's because of what we feel organizations, whether it be church, whether it be from our
Mhm.
parents. Because I've coached people where their parents, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and like what their parents said still anchors to what they feel that they can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is living in the past, Alex? I'll
Yeah.
take counseling problems for 400.
Right.
Yeah, we need to focus on going forward and not backward, for sure.
Yeah, because I'm an empowerment coach and I tell people it's decision and
Hmm.
intention. That is how you take your power back. So if you
Hmm.
are scared or you to get out of your comfort zone to make a decision and set of intention for your life, you know, you're gonna live in the same reality,
Hmm.
you know. Um,
You're not wrong. And I like to tell my clients, well, not tell them, but they'll give me a scenario where they're basically making an excuse for
yeah.
why they won't participate. Not even just,
Hmm.
I don't expect them to be perfect at it, but they won't participate in the thought of trying to do something. And they'll say, I can't. And I'll say, can't or won't. And
Right.
that usually just stops them down immediately. And I don't use that all
Yeah.
the time. I don't abuse it. But if it's a really one that I need them to get a grip on, it usually
Hmm.
kind of snaps them out of it. It's kind of
It
like a,
does.
it's kind of like a Gen X wrap alongside the head. Not that we'd ever know what that is. For those of you that are past Gen X, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But
So, yeah, I love reframing that for people because we quite often don't realize how much we give our power away. And
mhm,
we allow, I mean, events, circumstances, all of that fun jazz happens. And I'm being kind of snarky there. But,
mhm,
all of that happens and the outcome is not determined by the event. It's your response. Are
mhm,
you anchored in being the victim or survival? Because if you get
mhm.
in the survival, I mean, there are circumstances where you have to be in survival mode. That I mean,
I'm
if
sure
you're
you're
like,
very familiar with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is, but that requires survival healing. You're
Mhm.
not going to wish that away. You're not going to
No.
hope that away. It takes work to uncover that, to work through that, to peel that layer of the onion. Like I say, it's working with your emotional body, your physical body, and your energetic body, and getting those
Mhm.
all in alignment.
That's a lot of bodies.
It is
A lot of
because
bodies.
of, yeah, I mean, like people that deal with chronic disease, quite often they're like, if I could just, walk normal again, or if I could not have a heart disease, if I didn't have diabetes, there's almost always, I'm not going to say always because I'm not in absolutes, but if you're just looking at your physical body, that you're
Mhm.
not really calling in healing. You're just that's a lack chasing kind of mentality.
It is.
You're wishing for something you don't have. So that calls out to the universe, to God, to whatever you want to say,
Mhm.
use for that word, that you are lacking. And we
Mhm.
aren't. We're not lacking. We choose to our path, meaning we choose our response.
So what is the other side? Tell us what the other side of the survival healing is.
Just being a warrior in life, being
Okay.
curious in life, being in that growth kind of mindset. We could,
Mhm.
pivot it into the growth warrior mindset versus the fixed, where these are the circumstances, this is what's going on, and it's always going to be this way versus the growth, like something happened, there's a lesson. What is the lesson and how can I grow?
Mhm.
Each and every day
Good.
is a growing opportunity. And
Mhm.
some days you're gonna have crappy days.
Endless
That's
growth.
part of
Yes.
life. But
Yes.
it's an invitation, ding, 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 to really reflect and get into an introspective type
Where's your
of
bell? Don't you have a bell?
hold
You
on.
you said that. Ding 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 ding. There it is. Yeah, the hand. Ding, ding, ding,
I don't have a bell,
ding.
but I have a thing.
Okay. I'm gonna
But
buy a bell now just for that reason.
I know. But the more that we really like, I always tell people and I'm correcting my own self. I most often tell people, you know, it to change requires irritation. And that irritation requires an intention to declare what you want and what you don't want in your life. And after that, that's just being curious and being inspired in your actions. And so
Yes.
act, assess, adjust, rinse and repeat.
I think there's an adage that says, discomfort begat progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're not satisfied with what's going on right now, just like you said, a little self-reflection,
Mm-hmm.
motivation, warrior mentality, and
Mm-hmm.
be fearless. That's the big thing, is to be fearless, because it is, I will admit it, I have had to battle a lot of my fears and confidence in going forward with some of the things that I've done. But I'll tell you
Mm-hmm.
what, after I got done, it was worth it.
Right. And
Totally worth it.
when we say fearless, that doesn't mean that you don't have fear. We have
We'll have courage then.
the
Yeah.
human condition. I'm just kind of breaking that down because people are like, I want to be fearless. That's part of our human condition, is to have fear, but
Mhm.
to have enough self-awareness and self-responsibility to say, yeah, I have a little fear, but I'm going to do this anyway, because
Mhm.
at the end, the cost is going to be too great if I don't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
So let's use an
just
old term. Let's say have the moxie.
the moxie.
Have the moxie
I
to
haven't
do it.
heard that in forever.
I
man.
know. I'm bringing back the old school
You're
stuff
bringing it
right
back?
now. Bring it back.
Ah! So, I mean, like, this week, I had circumstances that happened. I
Mhm.
had surgery,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
The last couple weeks, you might have noticed we weren't on because we had circumstances happen.
We
But
did have a lot of circumstances happen.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
moving,
yeah.
and
And
it
I
was
went to
terrible.
I went to a coaching conference in Dallas for a
Yeah.
week.
Things
So
happen.
yeah, we had stuff happen, but this week we reset, we set
Mhm.
intention, we made a decision, and we
Mhm.
stayed curious in the process. Like, hey, you know, just checking in.
Yeah.
When do you want to? Are we doing it this week? Just
Mhm.
because you don't do it one week doesn't mean you have to throw.
Mhm.
This is an old term. Throw the baby out with the
Baby out with
bathwater.
the bathwater. I knew that was
Yeah,
coming. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. What I liked about our time off, though, is that you were very understanding and empathetic to what I had going on, and then you had things going on, and I was empathetic to that, because they were very much real life,
right.
and those things happen. And you cannot, I shouldn't say cannot, let's not do the definites, but stopping down after you have a couple of speed bumps or a
Yeah,
flat tire, it's not get out and fix that tire. Let's go. Let's
yeah,
get going again. I mean, one of us is going to get a bad cold or the flu this year.
right.
It's going to happen. Come,
But you keep going.
November, one of us is like, oh, can you be in front of a camera and, not be, like a 7-year-old child with snot running down your nose? Yes, I can. Then let's go. Let's do it.
Right.
Can you do it
Right.
without hacking every 30 seconds? I remember last year when we were doing this, or when we started early on, I had a terrible cold.
Right.
And I just kept coughing. I kept hitting the mute button. I'm like, oh my God, I can hardly function right now. But I'm like, I want to do this.
Right.
So.
Right. So, I mean, some key points is just really celebrate and honor yourself for trying, for
Mhm.
for building your resilience,
Yeah.
for increasing your capacity to hold what you want in your life.
Mhm.
Irritation or doesn't mean that your life sucks. It means that it's an invitation to grow. And if you reframe that, oh, yay, I get to grow, instead of like, oh my God, this always happens. And
Mhm.
what's wrong with my life and blah, 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 blah. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I've done it. I'm not poo-pooing it because I've lived that
Mhm.
dream.
Yeah.
I'm saying that sarcastically, because it wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare because I felt like I was in a cesspool of my energy was drained. My emotions were crap. My relationships, I wasn't empathetic. I mean,
Yeah.
if you would have known me probably 10 years ago and, the 2 weeks would have happened, I would have got on Death or High Water. I would have got on and I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell? Why is me on? What the hell? I got in that like old Kinsey, like
Mhm.
site right there. And,
Mhm.
verbiage,
Mhm.
colorful verbiage come.
Happens, and
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I
yeah,
totally get it. So
yeah.
can we say that irritation is notification?
Ooh, I like that.
Thank you. I just wrote it. Just
Yeah.
came from this brain. Yeah, irritation is notification to you that
Mhm.
says this is not right. So make an assessment. Take an inventory of what's going on. And sometimes things cannot be changed immediately. And you know what? That's okay. Rome was
It's
not
just
built in a day. Sometimes things are going to take time. You just can't go, oh, I hate this job and I quit and walk out and then go get a job 5 minutes later. Probably not the right
I
thing to
mean,
do.
sometimes you have to crawl before you walk, before you run.
Yeah.
That's in most things in life,
Hmm.
you don't have the ability to hold the capacity
Yeah.
of what you envision in your life. If right after my accident, me doing this, I had no capacity to do this at all.
Right. Right.
To put it in perspective. Yes, I
And I
had
did.
a story. Yes, I
Hmm.
had all of these things showing up, but I
Hmm.
didn't know how to navigate it myself. So how could I talk about it and help other people?
Right.
Right?
I mean, there's that saying, it's a blessing and a curse. And I do think that you have to crawl before you walk. You did remind me of being in Scotland, because I might have done that, getting out of a pub. But no, you do have to crawl a little bit before you walk.
You do. And it's
Hmm.
okay. Give yourself permission. And
No
this is
matter
one of
what
the,
age you are, no
yeah,
matter what age you are, it's okay. And I had to give myself that permission. And that's why that's so valuable to me, because I said to myself, "Oh, I'm this age and I'm this education. I should know
right.
all
It doesn't
this,
matter.
and I
It
should be
doesn't,
good at this, and I should have been done with this." And I'm like, "No, I can try now. I can
yeah,
go now and do this."
right. And when you're
So,
healing like childhood wounds, like mama wounds, daddy wounds, whatever,
mhm,
any kind of trauma, the when your capacity grows, it's going to show up again because you have to heal it at another level. Just because you heal
mhm,
it once doesn't mean that's just a stepping stone. That's just a stepping stone to the next stone so that you can increase your capacity. And
mhm,
it's something to celebrate and it's
mhm.
exciting. But when I first I started working on, a lot of different traumas from my childhood, I'm like, I already went through this. Why do I have to keep it? And I was getting mad at myself.
So been
And
there. I hear you. So been there.
I know.
Why
And
is this crap coming up again?
yeah,
I don't want to
can
cry
I
about
be
this
done?
again. This is terrible.
But you know what, people? Hello, you're human. It happens. You're conditioned. It's
we
okay.
we made it 18 and a half minutes before she got up on the mic. I knew it was going to happen.
Hello.
I knew she was going to say that.
um, so overcoming circumstances is just self-responsibility to set intention and
Mhm,
to make a decision to up level your life. And some days you might take a couple steps forward and then the next day you take 4 steps back. But
mhm,
in that moment, have enough self-awareness to observe
mhm.
the lesson, because that is what the universe, that's what God, whatever you want to call it, is inviting you to be the next best thing in your life.
Sure. And
Yeah.
let me be clear, we're not about definites, but that is definitely going to happen. You are
Mhm.
going to have days where things do not go forward at all and they went backwards.
Mhm.
I think that I can speak for you and say that's okay. Just get back on the
Yeah.
horse,
Yep.
keep going forward, and know that you are worth the effort to try and do it again. How many days
Mhm.
have you had that you cannot believe how badly things have gone? And
Oh
something
god.
that was supposed to be so simple did not work out because of X, Y, and Z, and you had no ability to change that at all. It's just what happened. and that's okay. We have tomorrow to try and do the same thing or better again.
There's lessons. The thing is lessons, you learn from them. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over.
That's so prolific. Yes.
Yeah.
Lessons you learn from them. Write that down, people. Get a pen. Kinsey's talking. You learn from lessons.
Yes. I mean, and life experiences, like when the shit hits the fan, I'm just like, okay, what am I supposed to learn here? Like, get your mind, get curious in what's going on. Because previously I would be like, what's wrong with me? Can I do anything right? All of that negative, non-growth type of self-talk.
Guilty. I'm guilty of that. Yep.
Yeah. And I invite my clients to journal their self-talk, like unfiltered, like you like really see it and observe it, like what you are playing in your mind every day. Because the first time I did it, I'm like, I would never speak to my worst enemy this way. And this is just a record player, a cassette, whatever you want to call it, Everybody,
if you just joined us, you're on a Gen X show, so we're going to use Gen X references.
Yeah,
I was just waiting for the 8-track.
I know the 8-track. I was getting there.
Okay,
but
sorry.
We always have that playing in the background because our ego, it is to keep us safe. So it always is signaling our brain, we've seen this before. This is not safe. It doesn't understand the context of what's going on. It just knows at one point in time, there was a breakup and whatever. And it was horrible. So every man, every woman is going to be this way.
Yes, exactly.
And that is not true.
I think I wrote a book about that.
Your boyfriend, girlfriend should not pay for your ex's, for your past. It shouldn't.
What is baggage, Alex?
Yep.
Yeah. I'll take stuff we commonly find in relationships for $400.
I know.
Yeah, that's 10% of my clientele right there, is just dealing with the baggage that they can't seem to let go into the next relationship.
Right.
So
because we put layers of protection on, and then we magically want to rip it off really quick, but that's not how it takes. Most of us have had this layers of protection for 40, 50 years. It's going to take a minute to.
It is going to take a minute.
to work
I
through
tell
it.
people, I try and give them a metaphor that they can grab onto. I say, look, if you're overweight, you did not become overweight in a week. So therefore, you're not going to lose this weight in a week.
Right.
So if you've got baggage, we can work on that, but it's not going to be gone overnight. We're not doing like, well, we got a 3-session special and we'll be fixing you right up and heading you out the door. No, it takes a bit of time to go through all. And that's okay, is what we're trying to say. That's all right. We just want you to put the effort in. We know that you're going to
make a decision. Make a decision to set intention. to
make
grow.
A decision to set intention. What was the thing that you said earlier? Oh gosh, something. It was like
I said a lot of things, so
You did say a lot of things, and it was a Kinseyism. It was a Kinseyism, and it was so funny, and I can't think of it right now.
But the things just aren't always going to. I like to really talk about this too with outcomes, because we get really anchored in with expectations of how things should go. And
you said the E word.
Instead of looking at expectations, let's look at your values and set your standards, because that will give you a roadmap, my friends. When you really hone in on your boundaries, your values, everything, that will kind of drive you forward and get you in momentum, So, yeah, it's super powerful. And I know I say super powerful all the time because this is super powerful.
I'm having a cape made for you that says that.
I know.
Super powerful.
I mean, like, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There's the saying in recovery that they say that expectations lead to disappointments.
They do.
It's kind of a little column A, column B. What I would like to say is that if you can set expectations that are going to be a little bit more than what you're doing right now, because the next time you have to set an expectation, it's going to be more than what you did already. So don't think play the lottery, win the lottery, news at 11. Doesn't happen that way. You got to put the time in.
I would say intention, not expectation, because expectation for me, it just has a heavier energy when you say it. It's like, I expect this. It's like you almost, it's like you almost have to have it to reach your goal. When you say intention, you're like, my intention is to do this by this date.
Okay, all right, I follow you now.
You know what I mean? It's
and I
more
agree.
forward moving.
Mm-hmm.
I really reframe that with my clients because I like, even like, I should have done this. You can should off all on yourself. It's going to make you feel shame, guilt, and what.
there's two phrases on that. You can should all over yourself, and then shoulds and shoulds are not what is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's getting. My coach said this to me one time. Oh, I just totally lost it. Love it.
If you're just joining us, you're on the elderly hour of Gen. We're gonna have brain meltdown.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna think of this. Hold on a second, I got it.
It'll come back.
I'm trying to take you out of it so it'll come back to you. Is what I'm trying to do.
I know. But so, I guess for me, I just really want to empower people, to not look at life as a bunch of events and circumstances that define it. You are not defined by your label. You're not defined by where you grow up. You're not defined by your job. Those things are not your identity.
No.
Who you are, who you be is your identity.
Who you be, man. Who you be?
Who you be.
You're not wrong. What I try and do a lot of the time, and I've shared this with my clients, is that when you're presenting yourself around people, when you're trying to be your true self, I think that my mother is walking with me, because how would I be around her? You want to be that proper person and be the best person that you can be. Doesn't mean that you have to fake anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that might be triggering for people. For me, I couldn't use that analogy because because
somebody you respect.
Yeah, because I grew up very Catholic, so it was all very much like, what are the neighbors doing? We have to look good in front of everybody, and that was the standard. It wasn't being like authentic. It was me, and I love my. I mean, they were just.
So that's a Catholic thing? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I assume. I'm not saying it's a Catholic thing. It's not an absolute thing, but it was a Midwest. It's all of those factors, those drivers in my, growing up that I culminated together. Where I felt that I couldn't be my authentic self. I felt that I was too much. I felt that I didn't fit in. And that might be you, and that's okay. But the thing is that you might quite often, you're probably carrying around your parents' boundaries, your parents' values, and you're not giving yourself permission to really dive deep into your emotional state, into your energetic state, into just who you can be to figure out who you are.
Well said.
Yeah. So that's it. And that's a shining example of perspective. Like, that made like total sense to you, what you said, but it kind of like, that wouldn't work in my life. And that might be where you're at when when you hear something. These are not absolute. This is perspective.
No. Yep.
Yeah.
It's all about perspective. You couldn't have said that any better, because perspective is key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when I go to when I travel and I go to new cities, I go where the local goes. I talk to all the locals. I'm like, what's good food? Where do the locals go? What's good events to go to
Mm-hmm.
get a taste of the city,
Mm-hmm.
or wherever I'm at, the village or whatever it is. And I do that because I'm not egocentric on my own self, that
Mm-hmm.
thinking that everybody else has to bend to my whim. I like to learn and grow, and growing requires observation and reflection and intention and
And
having enough
effort.
self responsibility that you're not the only person
Yes.
on the planet.
Yes. I would only add effort to that, because you have to have the wherewithal to want to do it initially. But everything you said is dead on.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
gaining awareness,
Mm-hmm.
because quite often we have blind spots, in our
Oh gosh, yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're highly educated or you've been doing the same job for whatever, there could be somebody that comes in that's new. There's like, why didn't you just do this? And you're like, why didn't I think of that?
Mm-hmm.
I've had it happen. I know we've talked about
Oh
it
God.
before, you
So
know,
many times, thousands of times, where I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
right. And it's just because sometimes we're so hyper focused on one thing that we lose the possibilities, and that's okay. It's okay. I think you
All right.
froze with your hand on your
Oh,
head. There you go.
I
Yeah,
think
I know. You froze like this.
I'm looking at my internet going like, I'm fine. What's going on? Did I freeze like this? That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so perfect. It's trying to tell us we're at time. That's what it's trying to do.
I know. I know.
Gosh.
So, overcoming your circumstances, your events in your life, um, it's just living intentional living. It's being self-responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And just act, assess, adjust, and rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And don't should yourself. I mean,
Nope. Nope. It's embarrassing. Yeah, don't should yourself. And having intention in your life is such a
Mhm.
wonderful thing. And I think that you and I can, preach that a little bit now. I have been able to grasp onto that, and it has changed how I actually do and see things in my life. And I
Right.
still have days where I don't go forward that day.
And it's okay.
Okay. It's okay.
But you
It's okay.
reset the next day, and you don't anchor your performance.
Mm-hmm.
You don't anchor the next day on the day before performance. You learn from it and you keep trucking, man. You keep
That's right.
going.
Keep
So,
trucking. Another Gen X
yeah.
term. We should have had like Gen X bingo today or
I
something. Let's
know.
see, 8-track, keep trucking, cassette tape. Every time she says like, it goes in a corner. Yeah, yeah.
I know it. So so we will see you next week. Just make sure
Mhm.
to like and subscribe.
Yes,
And
please.
we love comments and
Mhm,
questions. This is all to grow, so keep them
mhm,
respectful, because that's how we grow together, is just being respectful and giving ourselves permission to be vulnerable.
mhm.
So thank you for watching Gen Exploration. And Bobby, thank you for joining me this
Oh, thank you
evening.
for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes. And we will see you all next week. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.